Why do they never go in for me? Right, so we're into another band I got into about 86. I only ever got one album by them, but I really like this. So this represents the more colourful side of goth, kind of much more poppy at this point. I know they released a lot of stuff earlier on that was much more gothy, but I really enjoyed this. Kind of appealed to the same side of me that the Cure appealed to. So this is Discover by Gene Loves Jezebel. Really great songs on here. Things like Heartache, Desire, Sweetest Thing, Wait and See, I really like. And what was nice about this one is you've got the original album, which is that one. You also got a free live album, which is Glad to Be Alive, which is definitely got the more gothy side of it. I have to play this again. I haven't played this. Things like Immigrant and Cow, things like that. So that's the Jezebels. Now, I know this is going to be, I'm supposed to be just doing the songs, the records that made, that really informed my listening in the 80s. But I have to include this one because it's got a direct bearing on what happened on the next band after this. So in I think it was 86, maybe early 87, Sisters of Mercy split up. They all dissolved into the different factions. Gary Marks formed Ghost Dance with Anne-Marie from Skeletal Family, which I have only just got on vinyl, so I'm not including that here. But Wayne Hussey and Craig Adams went off and formed another band. Now, originally, they were going to call themselves the Sisterhood. But Andrew Eldritch thought, I'm not going to have that. No way. No way, Wayne. So he put out, rushed release this, which is the Sisterhood and Gift. It's kind of probably a mini album, to be honest. He doesn't actually sing much on it. A guy called James Ray sings a lot of the songs. So the music's all written and produced by Andrew Eldritch, with a load of guest vocalists and instrument and people on the record. So the whole thing is Gift featuring Dr. Avalanche, which is the drum machine from the Sisters, and the Chorus of Vengeance, which forms from Lucas Fox, James Ray, Patricia Morrison, more on her later, and Alan Vega from Suicide's on here. So this was much more beat heavy, much more atmospheric goth, but really enjoyable. There we go. Oh, here we go. That's better. Again released on Merciful Release, which was always the Sisters label, even though they did get released through WEA and other record companies. Now that put a kibosh on old Wayne Hussey's plans to have a band called the Sisterhood and build on the name of the Sisters of Mercy. So he gave himself a mission and called his band The Mission. Now I've got a whole load of their 7-inch singles. So here, right, so if I do it that way. So this is their first single, Serpent's Kiss, which was brilliant. I remember seeing this on the chart show in 1987. I thought, right, that is fantastic. Got to get that. So there they go. So they're looking much more gothy there. They actually looked more gothy after they left the Sisters. They were more of a gang. Well, trying to project, I think, more of a gang in the Sisters, but they came like hippie goths at this point. Still brilliant. Serpent's Kiss is fantastic, as is their second single, Garden of Delight, backed with a great cover of Like a Hurricane. Love that single. I didn't buy the 12 inches for some reason. I don't know. I think I was actually into buying 7 inches at the time. But they did later put this out, which is the first chapter, which has got, I think it's extended version. I think it's the first two 12 inches on one album. So you've got the track listing there. Nice white label. There we go. Some stunning stuff on here, like the extended versions of Serpent's Kiss and Garden Delight. Fantastic. It's got Over the Hills and Far Away, Naked and Savage. Really good Patti Smith track. Dance cover. I think that was Patti. It was Patti Smith, wasn't it? Dancing Barefoot. Pretty sure it's Patti Smith. Yeah. Patti Smith, which is a really good Patti Smith cover. So I still continued. So I continued buying Mission records all the way through. Picked this up. I remember picking this up in a sale. This is a limited edition copy of Stay With Me, which was the first single off their first album proper. The video to this is absolutely ridiculous. It is the campiest goth video I've ever seen in my life, with plastic spiders and just ridiculousness, but it's actually signed by the whole band. One of the few signed records I got, but I think what they did was, I think there were maybe 1,000 of these, I'm not sure, and they signed them all. I don't think it's that rare. It's quite nice to have, and Blood Brother is a great song on the B-side. I think this was also released pre-album, so this was single number 4, and this was a goth anthem, Wasteland. Me and my mates used to... Well, what happened was, I think they appeared on the Tube, and all the Eskimos, which were the Mission's die-hard followers, would fling their arms wide on every time Wasteland was sung and fling bits of paper in the air. So me and my mates used to, sitting around the sixth form room at school, used to rip up bits of paper and just go Wasteland all the time. So I don't know, a bit of an in-joke, but it was funny at the time. But this is a great song. Terrific stuff. And then the album got released, God's Own Medicine, which is a great kind of more rocky, still really gothy, but things like Wasteland. Got a great slow version of Garden of Delight on here. Let Sleeping Dogs Die, Sacrilege, Severina, Love Me to Death. And I think, and on here was Judy Ann Reagan was on a few tracks, and, or maybe a track or two, did the backing vocals. That was the first time I'd been exposed to her voice, which I absolutely loved. They released quite a few records before this, but I'd never gone into them. So that's, and then the final single in the first run, number 5, is Severina, which is a beautiful cover. Absolutely love that cover. And it's got a really, I forgot about this, it's got a really good version of Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles. It's not as good as the Beatles, it's not as good as the original, but it's a really good, I really liked it, thought it was really good. But I love that cover, absolutely love it. Right, then the sisters came back, but they weren't hippie goth, they weren't rocky goths, they were disco goth. They came back with this Corrosion, which is an amazing 10-minute track. Top 10 hit in the UK. Obviously all the goths had gone out and just bought this because it was the return of the prodigal son. There's Patricia Morrison, who teamed up with Eldritch after the Sisterhood to basically become Sisters Mark, probably about 3 or 4. I don't think it was even Mark 2. They had loads of members before they recorded their debut. But this was fantastic. Absolutely played this to death. This was brilliant. And they released a brilliant run of singles. Second single they released with a fantastic video. It was an epic video. Horseman, desert, fantastic. So this is Dominion, and this has got a truly amazing cover of Emma by Hot Chocolate on it. Unbelievable stuff. Right, and then rounding it off with the third top 20 hit is this one, which is Lucretia, My Reflection. This is the only bass line I ever learned how to play. A guy lent me a bass guitar and amp to try and get me to play bass in a band. But I did learn how to do Lucretia bass line. I don't think I can play it anymore. That's fantastic. And then out came the album, Floodland. And I've still got this as well, which is the lyrics. Here we go. Great picture of the two of them with the lyric sheet. This was never off my turntable, to be honest, for a long time. Absolutely loved this album. From Dominion, Mother Russia, Flood, the Piano Ballad 1959, Driven Like the Snow Neverland. This is a fantastic album from start to finish. Absolutely amazing. Inner Sleeve. Oh, it's just that on both sides of the inner sleeve. Now, because I was being exposed to Sisters, Cult, stuff, I got into other bands as well. And one of the other bands I got into was this lot, Balaam and the Angel, who were kind of goth light almost. Very kind of, by the time later I picked up a compilation of their early singles, but this was the first thing that I got by them. Released in 86, probably bought it in 87. Really good stuff. After this, they followed the Cult and went really, really metally. And that's a prime piece of goth light. Another band I loved, and I'm sure I had their first album somewhere on vinyl, but maybe I've only got it on CD because I can't find it. Maybe I've only got it on CD. It might be. But Rose of Avalanche were another sort of more rocky goth. I think this was put out without their wishes, against their wishes, this album. Released on Fire. I think they took a long, long time. Oh, I know what it is. I've got the 7-inch of Always There. Oh, I should have pulled that out. Forgot about that. But, well, we got the Roses being represented by the album In Rock. There we go. Another gothy band that I was into. 2 12-inches next by a fantastic artist. I really wish I'd had more of her stuff, but we got Danielle Dax, who was definitely on the gothy side of things. I mean, fantastic looking. Just such a brilliant image. This is a brilliant, much more rocky sort of, but beloved by goths, Cat House, and also White Knuckle Ride, which is a brilliant, probably a rewrite of that, really. That is probably a rewrite of that, because they're both pretty similar, but they're both great singles. Right. Then we come to one of the greatest goth bands of them all, and this was Goth with a double F, not with a TH. They got them incessantly mocked in the Melody Maker, which is what I was reading at the time. But this is a brilliant album. Incorporates bits of Ennio Morricone. Yeah, it sounds like the Sisters, but they had their own sound. And this is Dawn Razor by Fields and the Nephilim. Slow, doomy, great guitars on here. It's not the riffy guitars, but really good stuff. Carl McCoy was an absolute goth icon. Only ever saw them once, and that was at Reading Festival, so I don't think it was okay, but it wasn't brilliant. Never got to see them in a club or in a indoor venue, but that's a terrific album. Absolutely love this. Situation 2, which was the Beggars Banquet offshoot label. My record collection is littered with bits and pieces of goth. A band I actually turned. Now, when did I see these? There used to be a place called Camden Palace in London, and they used to have, on Tuesday night, they used to have loads of indie bands. And you'd get in for £1. There'd be flyers all around London, and you'd be able to get into the Camden Palace for £1. Drinks were cheap, and they used to have some really good bands on. But one of the bands I just bumped into one night was this one. Never got anything else by them, but this is Screaming Marionettes, and a really good song. This is a great song, Obsession. Later they did release an album, shortened their name to Marionettes, and they kind of lost it, the sound, but this is terrific. Absolutely terrific single. Look at that. Look at that. Goth. Right, then in 1988 came massive single. Top 20 hit. Played in a lot of places. Epic song. And I managed to pick up this. I remember having to travel all over the place to get a copy of this, because this sold out everywhere. So this is the Bombay mix of Tower of Strength by The Mission. First single off the next album. And I loved it so much. I got the 7-inch as well, because I loved that version of it as well. Much shorter version. That is terrific. Now, obviously, The Mission has been listening to a lot of Zeppelin, especially Zeppelin 3, I reckon. When they released this album, this was, I think, number 2 album. So this is Children, produced by John Paul Jones, which explains the kind of the Zeppelin-esque feel of this album. Another great album. I actually saw The Mission on this tour. They played like 5 nights at the Astoria in London, and I got to see them one night. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Things like Kingdom Come, Breathe. What else was there? Beyond the Pale. Terrific stuff. Absolutely love them. And then also in 88 came probably this would be in my top 10 of Goth, I reckon. It's a terrific single called Moonchild by Fields of Nephilim. Absolutely brilliant. Stonking great dance floor hit in goth clubs. Love that. And that came from the album The Nephilim. More, look at the gothy imagery on that. Can't get much more gothy than that. What's the inner sleeve? Oh yeah, they were into their mystical runes and stuff as well. Playing on that image. Fantastic stuff. Then I finally got into All About Eve. Now this is their debut album. They were much more, they were mates of The Mission, so much more into that kind of more rocky kind of side of it. Julianne Regan's got a lovely voice. So things like, what was on here? Flowers in Our Hair. Martha's Harbour was a big hit. Every Angel. Shelter from the Rain, which has got Wayne Hussey on it. Lovely cover of She Moves Through the Fair. Wild Hearted Woman. God, there was a load. What kind of thought? How many singles are off this? Loads of singles off this. Lovely record. Absolute. I'm going to play this as soon as I put the video off. I'm going to play that. And then that was it, basically. I picked up a few more Nephilim records after this. But probably the last thing that I bought was this one. I'd kind of moved on by then. It's funny because I spent loads of time from about 85 to 88-ish playing goth records, but then I just stopped. I mean, I still played the ones I had, but goth seemed to quickly just disintegrate almost. Yeah, The Mission still went on, but they weren't the same. They weren't as good. the sisters went more rocky. Patricia Morrison got fired. They came back with a much more rocky sound with what's his name from Ziggy Sputnik and the damn Brian James? No, not Brian James. Oh, the guy from Ziggy Sputnik, and I can't remember his name. Balaam and the Angel followed the Cult. The Cult went electric, went AC/DC. Everything turned rocky. I started getting into Grebo, and that led to shoegaze. There was just so many late 80s. There was so much going on. It was so hard to keep track of all the bits and pieces because I wasn't really tied to one thing. I was kind of eclectic in my indiness, so I never followed one scene, but I had lots and lots of threads that kind of I tried to keep hold on to. So that was it with Goth. Fun while it lasted though. Some great times, some great records. Right, that was a whistle stop tour. I think it's almost 40 minutes long. Ooh, maybe I should split this into two. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Ooh, sorry for the length of this. But I couldn't do it any shorter. I had to do it in one take really. Right. So I'm going to get off now, go and play some Goth records and revel in 80s nostalgia. Right, thanks for sticking around if you managed to survive all the way through. I went through an incredibly silly amount of records in this video. So keep watching for more installments in British Indie and Me. Cheers, everybody. Bye.